The sun is shining in the sky, there ain't a cloud in sight, and I'm starting to think about my holidays. Holidays for me involve sitting in a car for about 3 days and then coming home again, and that'll do for me. I don't really like to do anything else. While I'm sat in that car, I'm going to be doing all the bits and going to the Nurburgring, doing a few laps and coming home again. I do that quite a bit. This year, I've decided I'm going to take the Porsche. So the Porsche is a bit of a staple part of the workshop. I'm not going to be getting rid of it anytime soon. So we're going to look into a couple of things in this episode. Firstly, how much does it cost to go to the Nurburgring? What sort of money would you need to take your car to the Nurburgring and have a great time? And secondly, how to sort of look over the car and make sure it's okay. And then thirdly, I've got to fit these things. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but we're going to go through it all together, and hopefully by the end of it we'll all understand. So why am I taking this car and not this car? Well, a couple of reasons. This car isn't finished yet, but it's got a competition gearbox and stuff in it, and it tops out about 60 mile an hour. So it wouldn't be a lot of fun on the Nurburgring because there's a lot of flat out parts where you need the extra sort of miles per hours that will give you. And that, yeah, as I said, not finished yet. I've got a list of jobs to finish that car off, and I'm excited to get it done. It's hopefully going to be my jobs anyway, finished in about a couple of weeks, and then you won't see it again until it's back from the detailers and back from the trimmers and it's finished in its entirety, which I'm dead excited about. If anybody's wondering about the Ambassador, it's parked there. I can't show you it now because the next Left for Dead episode is parked behind it and you can't see it. I'm looking at it right now and you can't see it, and it is amazing. I can't wait to do it. That one has been sat for 32 years. That thing's been off the road since 1991. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that. I'm going to do another big long episode, you know, of getting it from sat for 31 years to running and driving down the road and polished up, and I'm just waiting for some bits to come through it, and then we're going to get stuck in. So yeah, let's get talking about this and how it's going to go to the Nurburgring. Okay, so first of all, why listen to me? I'm just some idiot that bodges cars back together. That may be true, but I've been going to the Nurburgring since I was like old enough to drive. I've gone over many times. Here's a selection of the things that I've taken around the track. I always try and go in a different car every time just because I like driving different cars. And I've hired a few things over there, and yeah. Oh, and I've got a National B racing license, and yeah, I'm all that sort of stuff. So I can be trusted to listen to what I'm about to tell you. And the biggest bit of advice I can give you is don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Don't panic and go, oh, I'm never going to be able to go. It's going to be too expensive. I can't do it. I'm going to crash. It's going to cost me £1 million. That might happen. No, it won't happen. Just don't worry about it, right? This is what it's going to cost you. Based on a 2 litre Porsche, yeah, it's nothing special. It's going to do 35-40 to the gallon on the way over there. Budget about 300 quid for fuel. You might go through 3 or 4 tanks of fuel, and I'm sort of Manchester down to Dover and get the ferry across. Hotel for leaving Friday, so you're staying Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then you're driving back Monday, it's going to cost you roughly 250 quid, depending on where you want to stay. You can spend a load more, you can maybe spend a little bit less if you really try. The ferry, now you can go on the ferry from Dover, or you can take the train from Folkestone. Now the train, I looked for the dates that I want to go, and the train is actually more expensive, but it does save you a bit of time, so you really have to weigh that up. The reason I take the ferry is that I'm driving quite a long way to get there, so that hour and a half that I spend on the ferry just walking around and stretching my legs and having something to eat and all that sort of stuff is really, really handy. If it wasn't for that and I just sort of got there, got on the train and got over there, I'd get quite fatigued quite quickly, especially being cramped into something like the Porsche. So that's why I get the ferry, but if you live down south, you might find it a bit easier to get the train. Food and drink while you're over there, again, this is just, you know, it's whatever you're going to sort of spend on. You know, there's a couple of nice places to go out. It's not crazy money for things over there. You know, you're not paying £10 for a pint, you're not paying anything ridiculous for any food or anything. There's some, just, you know, you can go out and get, it's pretty much the same as it is in the UK price wise, so just don't, you know, I don't mean sort of London by that, I mean sort of other places in the UK, most normal places in the UK, so don't worry about it. You can eat from supermarkets if you want, you can do it very, very cheaply, but just a rough idea. Now the laps themselves, now providing you don't crash, you're going to be looking at like 30 quid a lap, yeah? So the lap takes, I don't know, whatever, 10 minutes to do, and yeah, 30 quid for one. So don't necessarily go over there in your, you know, Fiesta Z-Tech thinking that I'm going to do 50 laps and it's going to cost me loads and loads of money. You can do 50 laps in a weekend, absolutely, but you're going to want to make sure your car can cope with 50 laps. But also, it's tiring. It's you know, 50 laps is a lot of work. You know, you'll be blowing out your arse and sweating after one lap. I'm telling you that. You know, if you're really sort of going for it. What I like to do when I go over there is roughly 5 or 6 laps. That's more than enough for me. I'm mainly there to soak up the atmosphere and to enjoy a different car and see how a different car feels. And because the cars I go in, sometimes they can be older, I don't want to sort of risk just pushing my luck and not being able to get home. So 30 quid each, 5 laps is going to give you a great time, and if it's your first time, it's going to be a brilliant first time, 5 laps, and then you can sort of see what it's like and maybe decide to do more in the future. I've written credit card here. This is fairly important. You need either a credit card with a couple of grand on it or a rich family. Now if you crash on the Nurburgring, this is what's going to happen. Bongard truck is going to come and they're going to pick your car up and they're going to put it on the back of that and they're going to take it back to the entrance, or take it back to their compound, sorry, and then you're going to get taken to the entrance and you're going to get hit with a bill. Might not necessarily be straight away, but it's going to be at some point, and you just need to have that ability to pay that, you know, whether it's, you know, if the bill turns up in a month or so, when you're back at home, you need to be able to pay it, or if they want money off you straight away to get your car back or whatever, you just need to have a credit card there, or you need to have someone you can phone and go, can you pay this bill for me please, because I've fucking stuffed the car on the Nurburgring. So just bear that in mind. But listen, you're not gonna, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like, don't think, right, I'm never going there again. Like, you know, no, it's just, in motorsport there's a saying, there are those who have crashed and there are those who are going to crash. So just don't let that be a decider of whether or not you go and enjoy yourself at the Nurburgring. Always look on the bright side of life. So yeah, that's roughly what it's going to cost you. It's not a huge amount of money for what I would say is the best time of your life, and as the saying goes, the most fun you can have with your clothes on. Right, now the car. Essentially, right, if you don't know anything about cars, and how to work on them, you're going to need to take something fairly new and reliable, right? Or hire something when you're over there. There is loads of car hire, race car hire places over there. The best one, in my opinion, which is the first one I ever did, was Rent for Ring. Rent for Ring, they do little Suzuki Swifts, and for your first time, they are the place to go. They're just quite hands-on, they've got a very good safety briefing at the start, and they put you at ease, you know, and everything went smoothly and the prices aren't ridiculous. So if you're thinking of driving over there in your car and then hiring a little Suzuki Swift, off the top of my head, it's another few £100 for a few laps. You can do that if you don't want to risk your car, or do one lap in your car and do some in the Swift, you know. There's loads of car hire companies over there. Just give it a Google. There's loads of forums. Go on the forums on Facebook, join the forums. There's loads of people on there. There's a search function at the top. Whatever your question is, search that, 'cause it's probably been asked a million times. But if you're thinking of driving your car over there and using your car to do all the laps, and your car isn't brand new, then this is what you're going to need to do. Essentially, is it running and driving okay? Yeah? Is it reliable? Does the clutch work? That's a big thing. Does the clutch feel like it's on its way out? You know, do the brakes work? Do the brakes get a bit hot? You know, this is all the sort of stuff that you've got to think in your head. Whatever happens over here, when you're on a racetrack like the Nurburgring, it's going to happen 10 times faster and 10 times harder. So if you get a little bit of brake wobble or brake fade or whatever, that's going to really show itself when you're, you know, a couple of laps in. Tyres, all your tyres good, you know, these are all like new, but I might get some other ones. Spare tyre, what are you going to do if you break down and you get a flat tyre? What are you going to do? You need a jack, a brace, a spare wheel and tyre, you know. It's just very sort of common sense. Does the car overheat? Does it ever get a little bit hot? Is that manageable, or is it something that needs to be looked at? Now, I'm going to show you on this a couple of little bits. Under the engine bay, under the bonnet, you're going to be wanting to look at all these things, right? Yeah? All your sort of pipe work, your radiator, all that type of good stuff. And you're going to want to see if there's anything wrong with it, right? So just doing this now, having a quick look, is not really good enough. You're going to need to get your head underneath the car. You're going to need to clean all of this stuff and check for cracks. Check, you know, don't just check the top, check the bottom. You're going to have to really get involved with it. So this engine bay now needs a proper detail before I start looking at what condition everything's in. And the reason you need to give it a good clean is because look at these oil leaks and stuff here. Is that just from people spilling that, or is there something else I need to worry about? How can I see the cracks in these pipes if I can't even see what the pipes look like because of the dirt they're under, you know? You're going to be putting the car and all of its components under a lot of stress. When you go around the carousel flat out, everything inside the car is going to want to escape. So you need to really make sure everything is tied down well. For example, this will not do. I'm going to have to get a proper battery holder clamp thing, get that all boxed off properly so that doesn't wander anywhere. If you go around the track like that, and you know it's going to fly out, you know, this isn't just driving it to work and back we're talking about now. This is serious stress on all of your components. Now, this is your fan belt. Without that, you will overheat really quickly or your battery will die, depending on what car you've got. I'm going to take a spare one of those and the right tools to be able to change it on the side of the road. That is pretty basic, yeah? I'm going to take a little bit of spare oil. I'm going to take a little bit of spare brake fluid. I'm going to take some spare power steering. Oh, it's not got power steering. Oh, forget that then. And I'm going to take a bit of spare water for the radiator. Now, one of the reasons it's really important to check your radiator and its pipes and all that sort of stuff is that When you're going really fast in a car and you're making that engine work harder than it's worked probably in its life, you're going to be getting it hot, yeah? It's going to be hotter than it probably usually gets. And when it gets hotter, there is going to be more pressure in your cooling system. Now, if you don't check all your pipes and stuff, a little crack that might not show itself now, when you're putting this under loads of stress, it may show itself on the Nurburgring. And what you really do not want to do is drop coolant on the Nurburgring. So if a pipe goes and all your coolant drops over the Nurburgring and you've got a group of bikers behind you, you're going to kill them all. So just make sure your car is properly checked over. That is super important. If you're in the car park and it's dripping oil and water and all sorts of stuff everywhere with the steam coming out the bonnet, listen, that's not cool. You know, you need to take good care of all of this stuff so you can take care of the other people that use the track. There's not a lot to these, is there? But there's only a 2 litre engine here, which gives out about 120 horsepower when it was new. It's probably more like 12 horsepower now. Your brakes are super important when you're on the Nurburgring. They will fade well fast. Now, before I go, I'm going to change these round bits. These are the brake discs, and these oblong bits in there, which are the brake pads. I'm going to change them for some uprated stuff, and I'm going to put some semi-racing brake fluid in, which is going to give it a brake fluid flush, so it'll be all new fluid, and that fluid has a higher boiling point, so you won't get brake fade anywhere near as easy. That alone, just the brake fluid, is one of the best things you can do when you're going on the Nurburgring, especially if your car's got a bit of age to it. It's incredible the difference it makes. Honestly, it's like night and day. So weird. But yeah, change all these bits up or make sure they're in good nick, because you're going to need them. The Nurburgring is full of really fast bits, and then slam on, go round a tight corner and do loads of really fast bits again. So yeah, you need these things to be in good order. So I'll be doing that in another episode to come. And it's just occurred to me as well that if you don't know where this car's come from or anything, there's like a whole bit on the channel for the Porsche, you know, where I resurrected it and now I'm enjoying it. So yeah, let's have a look at these steering things. I'm quite fortunate to have a lift, but there's no excuse. Get yourself a jack, a set of axle stands, get your head under your car. Now, you need to be looking when you're under here at the basic stuff. Things like brake pipes is quite important, because that extra push that you're going to be doing on your pedal and the extra pressure that's going to be building up could blow a line. So you've got to make sure they're all, you know, half decent at least. But everything under here looks good. You also want to look at stuff like, is the exhaust secure? You know, make sure there's nothing that looks like it's on its last legs in terms of like mounts or rubber connections anywhere, you know. Any sort of ridiculous oil leaks or anything, you know, you've just got to make sure that you're happy with everything, and nothing when you get there is going to fall off, because that would be awful, wouldn't it? But this looks pretty good. So that radiator looked okay from above, didn't it? But look at this. Now, that is a fairly integral part of the radiator, but it's not like the core or anything itself. However, if that's that badly corroded, imagine what everything's going to be like up inside the radiator itself, and get it replaced, you know. So this is one to add to the list. I'm going to order one of these and get that fitted. Again, not a huge job on this, and I don't think they're going to be very expensive. But a brand new radiator is going to really make the difference there. Okay, so I'm really fortunate to live close to a business called Tuned. Now, he is a quality guy. He works for the British touring cars, doing touring car stuff. And I took this thing to be tracked there, right? Because he knows what he's doing with tracking and suspension setups and all that sort of stuff. He's probably the best place I've ever been. So I took it to Wrexham and I asked him to track the car. And he got it up in the air on the ramp, and he called me over and said, Ben, I can't track this car. And I was like, oh, why not? And it turns out there is too much play in this bit here, right? Which is unusual. Usually it's your track rod end, but on the Porsche, these do wear, and this is why you buy this thing here, which sort of bolts somewhere like that, you see? Let me put this down. I'll try and move it so you can see better. Now see if you can see any movement in this bit here, because remember that's solid, right? And the movement should be when you're turning the steering wheel, not a wobble, right? So I don't know if that's coming across, but even just the noise, you can hear there is an issue. Now let's have a look at this side. Not as bad as the other side, but that one there is pretty bad. And you've got to imagine as well, just a 1/10 of a millimetre of travel there, by the time you've enlarged that to the size of your wheel, that's going to mean a hell of a lot of movement, yeah? So when I'm driving along at the moment, I'm getting a lot of wheel wobble. The steering wheel is shaking. So the first thing I need to do is replace these and then take it back to him and get him to track the car completely straight and true. Now once it's tracked completely straight and true, I can then move on to tyres and wheel weights and all that sort of stuff, and hopefully that'll make it drive nice and smooth and be a lot more enjoyable on the Nurburgring. We put this anti-roll bar right in the way, you know. So can't see the action. Got it. Cool. Just spotted as well, a nice flat on there, so hopefully I'll be able to get a huge spanner on that. Right, hopefully that'll be okay. Why does it look like it's had work before there? Anyway. Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, okay. I'll show you that in a second. So, it's not supposed to look like that, guys, gals. It just isn't. It's really dry and it's got rust on it, and it should be all shiny and lubricated, and that's probably why there's so much play in it. Now I don't know if you can see this movement, but yeah, a tiny little amount there translates to a lot on the road. But that is sad times, so that one's really gack. I've moved the boot down there. I'm going to do the same on this one now, just so I can have a little look at it. Right, so that's a lot better. That's kind of what it should like, which is why there's next to no play in here. Lots of nice grease and lots of shiny, so bollocks. They're the wrong ones, which is a bit of a problem because I got these all the way from a country that I've never even heard of. But you see how this bit is attached to that? Well, that bit's attached to that. So I think these are probably off a 4-4. And what that means is I'm going to have to get a couple of 4-4 track rod ends to make these work. Oh, what a pain in the ass. I hope they fit in. I'm going to have to take this off to make sure that screw is the same going into there, sorry, and then at least I'll know, because they just don't look right either. Oh God, hopefully I can make these work. So, as you can see, it's off and it's just absolutely nothing like it. One's an innie, one's an outie. Oh God! Why does this happen to me? Dreaded evil bay. So I'm just gonna have a quick look now at what's out there and what I've actually got here. How come whichever one yours is, it's always the most expensive one? So that Two of those was like 70 quid posted. For one of the actual ones of this, which is a really rare, different one than all the normal ones, classic, standard, just my luck, 130 quid for one without postage. How frustrating is that? Fortunately, in the back of the pickup truck, though, I do have almost an entire Porsche, and it's got these, well, it's got a full steering rack on it, so I'm tempted now to just unbolt this steering rack, take it into the workshop, and see what that other one's like on the other side, and see what these are like, and see if I can make a good steering rack out of the two, save myself 130 quid, see if I can send those other ones back all the way to, I don't know, somewhere in Europe, innit? Does anyone want an engine or a gearbox or anything? Oh, can't see that. What was over there? Secret car. So now I've carefully removed this piece of equipment. Carefully, I didn't use an angle grinder, that's how they come from the factory. So now I'm just going to take this bit of metal out here. This one has no play in it whatsoever, so fingers crossed this is going to be enough. That one does have play, this one doesn't. We'll make it work. So I've just basically got to install that on there now, and then I'm not going to change this one. That one's going to have to stay as it is, and that's it. Yeah, fingers crossed he'll track it and it'll be dead nice. Okay, so I'll screw this button first, I think. Yeah. See, yeah, spin that one round independently of that one. Let's do both at the same time. Look, I'm tracking. Been really lucky here, haven't I? Considering I've got a truck full of remnants of a Porsche 924. Don't ask me how that happened, by the way. Just luck, pure luck. Right, so no witness marks at all on this, so this is going to be well out. Good job it's not far to tuned HQ for a proper tracking. So now that's a little bit more than a guess. It's an educated guess. Semi-educated, not educated at all. Right, tighten these up, put some tie wraps on these, fill this full of grease first, and then put the wheels on and see how badly we've messed up. A better man than me would have changed these, of course, but right now we don't have any movement at all. Great, it's exactly what we're after. Thank God I had all those spares. That could have been very expensive. I'm gutted the brand new ones didn't fit, because I would have liked to have put a couple of brand new ones on, but that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? I'll send those back. But yeah, we're all tucked up, so I'm going to put the wheels back on, phone tuned up, get it booked in for its tracking, and then park it up until we can get it booked in. Wasn't that a stroke of luck that I happened to have an entire running gear of a Porsche 924 sat in the back of my pickup truck? Fate, great. I was just about to whale that in as well. Right, that is now done. In the next episode, we're going to do brakes and we're going to do the radiator. And in the episode after that, I'm going to be sticking it on a ferry. You know, that's going to be exciting. But it's booked in with tuned, and they're going to do the tracking, and I will see you after they've done it, and I'll let you know how good it is. Bye.